thank you to everyone for joining us today. My name is Janelle Tassard. I'm with the Greater Phoenix Chamber, and we are so happy to have all of you here joining us virtually for our Professional Women's Alliance webinar, the second one we've been able to do in this format. And we are so glad that you have all responded and continue to be involved with this program with us. On behalf of the entire chamber, we hope that you and your family, friends, colleagues are all healthy and safe. We miss seeing you all very much. We can't wait until we can all be together again. But again, really glad that you are all available to join us online. So for those of you who have not been a part of the Professional Women's Alliance program before, this is a monthly program of the Chamber where we bring different community leaders, all females, to the forefront to talk about their experience and their insights to leadership, career growth, and community involvement. As we get started, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for the program, APS, BOK Financial, Slalom, and University of Phoenix. We appreciate your continued support of the Chamber, the Professional Women's Alliance, and so many women's programs throughout the Valley. So please join me in giving them a virtual round of applause. As we get started, I want to let you know that the county attorney will be taking questions after her presentation today. So there should be a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. If you click on that, you can submit questions at any point. That'll pop up on the side of your screen, and we'll get through as many of those as we can at the end of the program, time permitting. And it is my pleasure to welcome today's presenter. She has a very impressive bio, so I'm going to go through a few highlights with you. Allister Adel was appointed as a Maricopa County Attorney in October of 2019 by the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. She initially began her legal career at the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, where she was an award-winning litigator prosecuting felonies and advocating for victims' rights. During her more than 7 years as a deputy county attorney, she served in the Vehicular Crimes, Gang, and Drug Enforcement Bureaus. She was then appointed to the executive level leadership positions within the Arizona state government from 2011 to 2015. As the Chief Administrative Law Judge for the Arizona Department of Transportation, and later as General Counsel for the Arizona Department of Child Safety, she worked to build coalitions and improve policies to help agencies achieve their missions. She received her law degree from ASU Sandra Day O'Connor School of Law, and she received her Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from the University of Arizona. So with that, please join me in welcoming Maricopa County Attorney Allister Adel.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. Good morning, everybody. I know we're all learning this brave new world of working virtually, so I'm going to do my best to stay in one spot. I'm actually at my standing desk where I actually am able to speak better. So if you see me moving around a little bit out of center, I apologize about that. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about me and how I got to where I am, tell you about the County Attorney's Office, our initiatives and what we've been doing, and then finally how we are prosecuting and handling cases during the pandemic, because we have had some extraordinary changes, as we all have, in this brave new world that we're all in. So I went to law school to be a prosecutor, and I thought I was going to be a prosecutor until the day I died. And for me, there's no other job for a lawyer to be in public service and has so much meaning and purpose to it. Janelle, in the introduction, mentioned that I spent some time in vehicular crimes. Vehicular crimes is where you have homicides caused by impaired, drunk, drugged up drivers. So I would have to go to those crash scenes, and they're horrific, and there's no dignity in a car death. And while it was the most difficult part of my job, it was also the most rewarding when I would meet with the families, the next of kin of those that died, and said, I was there the night your loved one died, and I will do everything in my power to seek justice for them. Again, I thought I was going to be at the county for a long time. It is the greatest place to be, and it's a homecoming for me. I was fortunate to have some other career experiences that I was able to broaden my administrative experience and not just as a lawyer. I'm also a very proud Rotarian. I don't know if there's any Rotarians in the audience, but everything I've done in my career, I try and embody our Rotary guiding principle, which is service above self. And I was proud that I was the third woman president of the oldest and largest Rotary Club in Arizona. And during my year, we focused our efforts on combating human trafficking in our community. And I'm happy that I'm able to engage in that space now as county attorney. I'm also a wife and a mom. And so my kids have been home since the schools got shut down and they're in elementary school. So to all the moms out there, happy belated Mother's Day. We're all in this together as families. And we're trying to get old fashioned with somehow connecting our kids socially. We're doing Zoom calls, we're doing Facebook Kids Messenger. We even went a little old fashioned and we started doing pen pals. So we've been following the governor's orders with shelter in place to the best of our ability. I hope all of you are safe and well. And with that, I'm actually going to choose some technology here. So bear with me if I don't do this right. I'm gonna put on a PowerPoint now. So you'll still see me. So give me a second here. All right, this is the one. I might have to have my wonderful comms director come over here and help me. Okay, I think we got it. Can you guys see that screen? Yep. We're good? Okay, so I'm gonna toggle down here and change the screen. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm learning this stuff too. Okay, about the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. We are actually the third largest prosecution agency in the country behind Chicago and LA. We have 1,000 employees. So we handle all the felony prosecution for the county, but we also do handle some misdemeanors in what we call justice courts. And those are like the city equivalent for the unincorporated areas, for instance, where the sheriff's office is responsible for enforcement in those areas. So we have a very robust victim services division as well. Protecting victims' rights is paramount. We are a great progressive state. We have victims' rights in our Constitution here, thanks to the good work of those who came before me. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of them in their time of trauma and need. And one of the things I like to brag about is we actually have a canine victim advocate unit. We have 3 dogs. They are adorable. When they first see each other, the 3 of them in the morning, they get so excited. So we have Morgan, Ellie, and Tori. So when they're working, they wear a vest and they go into the courtroom. And they're mainly there for child victims if they have to testify and relive some trauma. The courts have been great with us, allowing them to engage with that dog to help calm them in that traumatizing time. But I tell this story about Tori. Tori's a yellow lab. She's 7 now, I think, sweet as can be. But she's semi-retired now and is mainly for those in the office because when she would be in court, she would fall asleep and start snoring. So she's not exactly allowed in court these days, but we love our dogs. They're just amazing. It's a really progressive program and we're hoping to expand it. We also have a civil division in the office. We are the lawyers for the County Board of Supervisors and every county entity. So you've been hearing a lot from our public health office lately because of COVID-19. We're their lawyer. We're also the lawyer for other electeds, such as the recorder, and county appointed offices, such as animal care and control, air quality, you name it. So we engage in that space as well. We are the 4th largest county in the United States, and there's a lot of great people here at the county that work collaboratively to make sure that the services are getting to you as citizens and that you have resources when you need them. What it means to me to be the first female county attorney, it's such an honor. We have so many challenges ahead of us. We weren't expecting my first 6 months here to have to navigate a pandemic, but I am so proud of the people in this office and how they've handled it. We actually have 70% of our workforce teleworking right now, and I'll explain more about how we're handling the COVID-19 in our later discussion. I'm gonna switch slides right now. Again, bear with me. I know I'm not looking at the screen. I feel like it's a Zoom faux pas. All right, so when I came on, we assembled a team of leaders in the community that were attorneys, nonprofit leaders, victims' rights advocates, law enforcement, even defense attorneys, to help identify what strategic goals do we need during this time of transition. As you know, my predecessor, now Justice Montgomery, he ascended to our high court, and it's not like he was able to come back in and train me. So I had to surround myself with a group of people that could give me advice. I don't have all the answers. I just want to be collaborative and make sure that I'm making the right decisions. So from the hard work of our transition team, we came up with 3 strategic goals. The first and foremost is what we do best: protect the rights of crime victims and hold criminals accountable, but doing it fairly and justly. And we'll talk more about that in just a bit. We're focusing on making process improvements in the office. We want to be judicious with our resources. One of the ways that we tackled that right away was that we had a backlog of public records requests that was taking months to get out. So we looked at process improvement. We looked at how can we do organizational efficiencies to make this system better to comply with the rights of those that want to see public records. And I'm proud to say we've eliminated the backlog, and our turnaround time is dramatically reduced. So I'm so proud of our team for the hard work they did in that space. And finally, the last strategic goal was to build partnerships and coalitions with our stakeholders, the legislature, law enforcement, the community, those groups in the community that want to see our criminal justice system succeed. We want to partner with them. I'm proud to say that we have created a business advisory council. We want to be able to engage with the business community in a meaningful way, and I want to share more about that with you in just a moment. I'm going to switch slides here. All right, so diversion. Diversion is when someone has been charged with a low-level crime and they are not likely to reoffend. And if they complete an evidence-based program where they're getting treatment for their needs, their charges will be dismissed. Now, we're not talking violent people, murderers, robbers, anything like that. Those are not the people that go into a diversion program. So we launched our program in January of this year. It used to be that we had a specific drug diversion program, and we're making that more robust now. And what we did was we eliminated a financial barrier to access this treatment. It used to be that the county attorney's office charged a $630 fee just to participate in diversion. So we eliminated that financial barrier. We're focusing on treating the offender, not just the offense. So a lot of people that are committing crimes, they're doing it in furtherance of a drug habit, mental health issues. They go into a program, they get assessed for what their specific needs are, and then they're given treatment for what the underlying issues are. And if they complete the program, their charges are dismissed. The whole point of this is that we want to get people back and working, contributing to the economy, and being successful. These programs nationwide have proven very successful. Normally, traditional prosecution takes around 2 years. That's a burden on our court system. Lawyers and defendants and victims and witnesses having to take time off work and go into court, and it's costly. The diversion program, 4 to 6 months, people are seeing success. And then we also, if there's a victim crime involved, we get their input. So we are really excited to roll that out. Unfortunately, with social distancing, it's been put on hold a little bit. We're waiting for our providers to come back online so we can restart that program. But I'm really excited about this because this is going to help contribute to our economy and our whole goal of keeping families safe. So about keeping families safe, this is our initiative for community outreach. You know, it used to be that we would have a booth at a home tour, and we would go out into schools and talk about bullying. We're still going to do those things, but we're identifying ways to get to the adults, the parents, and tell them about some of the issues in the community. We want to be the educational resource for you. We're not just reactive, we're proactive. We have subject matter experts in everything from vaping to cybersecurity. We want to make sure that we get you the information you need. Just last night, I did a teletown hall where we talked about the increase in domestic violence during COVID-19. We can get you resources. You can go to our website, maricopacountyattorney.org. We're engaging with businesses to bring you short presentations if you're willing to let your employees go for 30 minutes and hear about a topic that might be of interest to you. Perhaps it's the prescription drug crisis, where teens are breaking into their parents' medicine cabinets and taking serious drugs that ultimately lead to other problems. We've engaged with a company, it's called Dispose RX, and there's these little packets. I wish I had one in front of me. I might have one in my purse somewhere. I'll show you what they look like. So what Dispose RX does is you can safely dispose of your pills this way. You can't flush them down the toilet. You can't throw them in the trash. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty busy and I don't have time to go back to Walgreens to return the prescriptions. So what this packet allows you to do is to take your pill bottle and you pour the powder in, and then you fill it up with water, and it safely disposes the drugs that are in there, and then you can throw them in the trash. So it's programs like these where we want to do outreach and bring you these resources. Again, you can learn more on the county attorney's website, and my awesome communications directors brought one. Okay, this is what they look like. They're just tiny little packets. So these are the type of things that we want to hand out as our new swag, if you will, at events. So, oh, wait, we have more. We have handouts on vaping and all other kinds of topics. So if you want these resources for your break rooms or your employees, please just get in contact with us. We are happy to provide you with those resources. And we're going to go to the next slide. Okay, so keeping families safe. These are some of the safety tips that you can find on our website. And we have a lot of other resources there. And if you can see on the left-hand side, you have some specific areas where we have information for you. And we are monitoring scams and fraud. I know that's a concern right now during COVID-19, but we are monitoring those for trends and you get information out. I will tell you in short, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So prosecuting during a pandemic. This is a difficult time for all of us. People are nervous. Some people want to stay shelter in place. Some people want to go back to work. Our children are home from school. And the criminal justice system does not stop. So what have we done? First, we had to pivot very quickly to make sure our employees were safe. So we got laptops for a lot of them. We repurposed the work that they were doing so that they could work from home. So about 70%, as I said earlier, are working from home. But the wheels of justice don't stop. We still have to go into court. And now some hearings, we can use technology. And I think all of us can say, perhaps the silver lining is we're all learning more about technology and how it can help us. We're having to go into court on hearings. We are still making sure that we are prosecuting the worst of the worst out there. Normally, this office files 700 to 800 cases a week. From April 4th to April 24th, we only filed 342. And of those, they were very serious. I think we had 8 murders during that time. So we are working with law enforcement to make sure that they are actually arresting those that are, oh, I'm being told to stay on task, hang on. We're making sure that we're working with law enforcement to make sure that we all stay communicating with each other. We're working with the courts, we're working with the sheriff. And so the coordination has been absolutely extraordinary. So yes, we are still filing cases. We are trickling them into the system, but we're looking at how we're charging cases. Are there some that can wait? Because we can't collapse the system. The courts are limited openings right now. In fact, we're not even doing jury trials. Jury trials are going to start again June 15th, and they're going to start with one. It's a test case on how we do this with social distancing. So it's been coming upon us as prosecutors because we control that pipeline into the courts to make sure that we are charging responsibly. But there's still bad people out there doing very bad things, and we need to hold them accountable and make sure that you and your families are safe. We've been working with the private defense bar, the public defense bar, the courts, and the sheriff's office to responsibly reduce the jail population. The jail population has been reduced by 30%, and currently the courts are only holding hearings on those that are in custody. So we are prioritizing those that are in custody. If somebody is out of custody, their case is on hold at this time. This has been a crazy collaborative effort. I'm so proud of how we all came together. And it's not just in Maricopa County. I talk with the other 14 county attorneys every single week, and we discuss how can we do this better? How can we run our offices and protect the community? Because that's our priority. Let me go here. All right, so this gives you a graph on cases that we've been submitted. And when we say submitted, law enforcement submits cases to us. They will either arrest somebody and they go through the jail system, and then we decide if we're going to file charges, or they later submit charges and somebody is out of custody. So when you see submitted, that's what that means. Cases coming into our office. And the case filing numbers are the blue line there that you can see. And you can see there's been a dramatic drop. So we're being responsible about which ones are coming in, but the cases are still coming in. So I want to thank you for taking the time to meet me and learn about the county attorney's office and the great work that we do here. The men and women who are here, they are dedicated professionals. And when I speak with them, I often tell them, we are character-driven professionals. And that means doing the right things for the right reasons every single time. And I am so proud to be your Maricopa County attorney. We're going to work hard and keep you all safe. and make sure your businesses and families are healthy. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Allister. That was so informative, and I think that we probably gave people a lot of information that's kind of always just in the back of our minds when things are so uncertain, and you see what's going on in other cities and in other states. And it seems as though you all have done a really strong job in leading in this, and we thank you for it. So I have a few questions for you, if you don't mind, and I want to remind our guests, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit those with the Q&A or the chat box. So I actually had one just pop in, so I will start with that. What is the reason for the lower number of filed cases? Are we seeing fewer numbers of crimes because of COVID, or are we just not moving forward with them as quickly?
That's a great question. So we are not filing as many cases for a couple of reasons. Law enforcement is not arresting as many people because they're trying not to flood our jail system, which we've seen nationwide that can become an incubator for COVID-19 and another public health crisis. So they're not arresting as many people. That's one thing. The other one is with shelter in place, we have seen some less crime, but we don't have any solid information about that. What we do know is that we have seen an uptick in domestic violence of about 25%. And there's several task forces going on to see how we can address that. The other reason the filings are down is because we can't flood the court system because they can't handle the volume right now. The courts are operating on a limited basis. So what we're doing is we're still ready to move forward on every single one of those cases. This is not a free pass. This is not immunity. These cases will get filed. We just have to be able to have the courts have the capacity to handle these cases.
Absolutely. And then the follow-up to that question was, do you think that we will continue to see lower arrests? Will that be maintained? Do you feel like there was any sense of over-arresting previously? And it sounds like maybe not. It's just a matter of working to do this in a safer fashion.
You know, if we hit a recession, crime's going to go up. That's what's going to happen. I can tell you law enforcement and first responders are currently preparing for when we slowly reopen, that we are going to see an uptick in crime at that point. And they're not going to turn a blind eye. They know they need to go out and arrest people because there's still people breaking into homes and trying to scam people. So I think that when we look at the bigger system, I don't believe there was over-arresting before. I think it was a measured approach. And keep in mind, if somebody's arrested and we don't feel that we could convict them and it's unethical for us to move forward, we don't file charges on them.
Great, thank you. And I know you touched on this a little bit in your remarks, but one of our participants is asking, what types of cases are you still considering the high priority? If you could just mention those.
Can you give me that list, Jen, real quick? Okay, so I can actually give you actual facts.
Great.
So, so during that time period I told you about where we filed 342 cases, these are the types of cases that we filed. We had 8 murders or attempted murders, 71 armed robberies, sex crimes, crimes against children, and kidnapping. We had 95 aggravated assault and car thefts. We had 74 misconduct involving weapons, and usually what that is that a convicted felon has a gun and they're not supposed to. And we also filed forgery, robbery, arson, child abuse cases. So those are the ones that we are prioritizing. When there's a victim involved, whether it's stalking or sexual indecency, we can't turn a blind eye to those cases. If somebody has a traffic stop and they get stopped for simple possession, that's somebody that we would put into the diversion program. And so we'll hold off on those. And when we're back open, they will be prosecuted.
Great, thank you. You talked a little bit about the felony diversion program, and I think criminal justice reform before all of this happened had been a really hot topic nationwide, but especially here it was gaining a lot of traction, and that sounds like a really great program. So when that gets back up off the ground, when all of this is over, you find other alternatives. What are some of the key businesses that messages that you want businesses and business leaders to understand about that program, and how do businesses best utilize that to help bolster their workforce?
The best way to describe it is that if somebody goes into diversion, that means they're not going to be incarcerated, placed on probation, where they're having to interrupt their work time and family time to maybe take tests and do all these arduous things. What diversion does is allow somebody to return to family and work sooner. If they're in a diversion program, they can still keep their job with you. Now, not everybody is eligible for this, but it's something to reduce people from interacting with the criminal justice system and ultimately reduce recidivism. That's the main goal here. Get them back and working and being successful. So that's how we can help contribute to the economy, is rather than incarcerating them and having them recidivate, this will help get them the skills so that they can be a working, productive member of society.
Great, thank you. Another one of our participants has asked what advice you would give to rising young female professionals, especially those that want to work in government or that do work in government.
Well, to anybody who wants to work in government, it's a calling. It's definitely selfless. None of us are here to get rich, but it's a great place to be. Public service in any capacity in government, I applaud everyone that wants to do that. And even in the private sector, I would say to young women, the most important thing you can do is always conduct yourself with integrity. Do the right thing. Trust your gut. Look to other women that you want to emulate and be like. I have had so many women that I've looked to in my life that haven't necessarily been a mentor necessarily, but I've applauded and been impressed with how they've handled challenges or adversity in their lives. And I knew that I wanted to be like that.
Great. Another question somewhat along those lines, but what do you think it is about Arizona? We've seen a lot of firsts for women here and really strong female leadership really throughout the state's history. What is it about Arizona that really makes the state stand out as a great place for women specifically to thrive?
You know, as part of the reason why I chose to move from Dallas, Texas, where I was born and raised, to Arizona is because we have been trailblazers here with women. And it takes the courage to get into that space, to step into that space, to still be a wife and a mom and a hard worker. And if we can encourage people to step into that arena, then we're going to continue to see great women leaders in Arizona. And I think that we have such women behind us who have led, and like I said, been trailblazers. They're paved the way for many, many more to come.
Great. Another question from one of our attendees. What is the best personal and professional advice that you have received in your career?
My goodness.
Professional, I should say.
I've got a lot of it over my life, and my goodness, I feel like we could sit here for 20 minutes with advice I've been given. You know, it's always tell the truth, even when it hurts. Do the right thing, even though it might be scary. I try to follow this personally and professionally, and it's not always easy. And sometimes you reflect back and say, gosh, I could have been better if I just turned a blind eye or ignored it. But follow that in your gut. And personally and professionally, I've gotten that similar advice from women. But the other thing is, on the professional side and personal, we need to empower each other as women. You know, years ago, we were trying to cut each other down, and the tide has shifted, and we need to take advantage of that. So that is my advice to everyone. Let's empower each other and be in this space together.
Great, thank you. So as you're newer to your role, what is the accomplishment, your professional accomplishment in this role that you're most proud of so far? And then do you have a BHAG goal that's coming down the pike for you in this position?
Like I said, we weren't expecting the pandemic, so some of this has been put on hold. But one of the things that I'm really proud of that we've done is we created a new bureau. We actually reorganized the office when I came in. I was not anticipating having to do that in my first few months. And we wanted to collapse bureaus, make things more efficient so that people can do their jobs more effectively. The problem is we're moving into a new building. So we're actually in our new offices now. There's 800 of us in here. And it's actually the old Madison Street Jail. It's actually been repurposed. It's actually kind of cool. So when we did this, we had to make sure that we were doing it efficiently because we weren't going to move everybody in and then reorganize because that's just chaos and not cost effective. So we reorganized the bureaus, and in doing so, we created a new bureau called the First Responder Bureau. It is hunting season, not just on law enforcement, but firefighters. And so we want them to know that we are walking alongside them. So we have dedicated prosecutors in this group who understand the needs of our first responders, the vicarious trauma, the PTSD, and we have a dedicated victim advocate. So when somebody assaults our officers and our first responders, detention officers, probation officers, we are going to hold them accountable. So I'm so proud of the work that we're doing in that space. As for what's to come, well, accomplishment, I think if we can figure out how to navigate the new court system in the next couple months as we slowly reopen, that will be a huge accomplishment, because we're going to be at about 50% of our normal trial capacity by the end of the year. And so cases are going to be getting backed up and backed up. So what does that look like? And how do we, again, navigate this? Where can we get creative? Can we do pre-filing dispositions? So putting an eye towards that, and also just literally reopening our office, we have a task force looking at how do we bring people back incrementally and still keep everybody safe.
Great, thank you. Obviously, as you mentioned, we're all navigating this new normal, and it's certainly presented quite a few challenges. Have you found any areas that you've all been able to improve upon in working in a more virtual environment, or just better understanding different technologies through all of this?
Well, before this, I had never used Zoom, so we're using it quite a bit. Even for our staff meetings and leadership meetings, the fact that we were able to so quickly pivot and get laptops for our staff has been great. We've found ways for them to do redactions of victim information in cases from home. And so the fact that we're able to use technology to our advantage, and employees being open-minded to this, has been great. Even in a time where they're worried about their own safety and families, everyone has stepped up in this. It's been great.
Excellent. What are you most optimistic about as we start to see things open up? Or I guess let's start with what kind of keeps you up at night as we start looking at the reopening, and then what are you most optimistic about?
Well, what keeps me up at night is to make sure that we're all doing this safely. I mean, of course, I worry about my own family, their health and safety, and that of my friends and our employees. You know, it's something that the responsibility of this office and being a wife and mom and community member is so important to me. So yes, that weighs on me, but at the same time, I'm not going to let it keep me down. What I'm optimistic about is that I'm hopeful that as we slowly reopen, we're all still being responsible with hygiene, washing our hands, social distancing, and whatever the professionals are recommending that we do to take care of each other in this time.
Absolutely. Another question coming in is, as you're building out your leadership team and the team around you, what are some of the top qualities that you are looking for?
You know, we have to have a good team around us. And again, I don't have all the answers, and I want somebody who's able to have an objective view of things. And if I'm doing something wrong, tell me. We might not always agree on things, and I ultimately know the responsibility is mine, but that collaboration for me is key, and that communication with my team is key. And the fact that we have to get along in this space. We deal with some very stressful things, and we have to make sure that we all have, you know, the ability and the personality to handle it. I'm one of those kind of, I've been called cheesy leaders. I like to do team building activities, and we're going to have to figure out how to do that virtually right now. So we've had a great leadership team in place. We've tried to come up with new ideas about employee morale during this time and how we're going to reopen. And the fact that we've got people that are character-driven leaders around us, again, that want to do the right thing every single time, that's what I look for.
Great. Building on what you just said, then I think that's something we're all looking at. Obviously, you have a much different level of stress and than many of us do, but how are you keeping morale up with your team in these times? And have you come up with any innovative things that might be of value to those who are attending and trying to keep their teams connected right now?
Okay, so we've done a couple things, and we've had great responses. So the first one was, we sent out an email to everybody saying, all right, we're all teleworking. show us your pets that are your new coworkers and tell us what their title is. And so we had, I think, 70 employees. It was a fair amount and a broad range, everything from a homicide prosecutor to a receptionist. We'd send in pictures of their dogs, their cats. We had chickens, we had horses, and they gave new names for their animals, and we compiled it into a PowerPoint, and it went over so well. And then the other one, Jen, I'm sorry, I'm going to look at her. What was the other one we did? Oh, yeah. So this one was a little embarrassing, but we asked for your high school picture. And so we compiled everybody's high school picture and sent that out to the group. So we've done some fun things like that, that just we have to lighten the mood with what we're seeing in this office. We've also made sure that when we have our calls, I make sure it's incumbent upon me at the start of the meeting and the end of the meeting to thank everybody for their hard work. So it's incumbent upon us as leaders to convey that message right now.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. What do you like to do personally to help relieve stress or just wind down after a rough day?
Well, normally I like to go to the spa, but that's not happening right now. I need a pedicure badly. So what I like to do is two things. Obviously, spend time with my family, yoga. And so I discovered this great YouTube channel because I would lay my yoga mat out and my dog would be like right there, like wanting to do poses with me. So I found a dog yoga channel. So that's been a huge stress reliever. And then I just like to watch something mindless. So I've been watching a lot of the videos on Facebook. If you haven't seen Kalen Reacts or Oh My Kalen, he does reaction to food videos. And I watch the Holderness family. They make videos about being in quarantine. So just something completely mindless. So those are the things that I do to kind of keep my sanity right now.
That's great. It looks like our questions are winding down a little bit. So anything else that you would like to share with our attendees before we wrap up for the day?
You know, this is a great group. You guys are all doing great space and out in the community. I have a lot of respect for all of you. I hope to actually see you in person at some point. But until then, just know that we're working very hard over here at the county attorney's office to keep you and your family safe. And I look forward to the time where, even if it's still social distancing, that I can meet you guys in person and shake hands again. So stay safe, be well.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me, by the way. This was great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. That was such great information. And yes, we are very eager to the day we will be able to host you and host everyone in person again. I want to thank our sponsors one more time, APS, BOK Financial, Slalom, and University of Phoenix. We're so appreciative of your continued support and your flexibility as we've moved to this virtual platform. We will have our next Professional Women's Alliance event on Tuesday, June 2nd, featuring Kathleen Duffy-Ybarra of Duffy Group to share how to build your brand in a time of change. So tune into that. We also have an ongoing webinar series happening where we host, about two webinars per week. And you can, on various topics that will hopefully help your businesses navigate through the pandemic. So those are open to everyone as well. You can find them on our website, as well as all of the recordings of past webinars as well, if you want to share those with anyone. Again, we thank you all for being with us. We hope to see you soon, but at least see you in another webinar in the very near future. Thank you and have a great day.